What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Sunday, February 27th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 5-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. I like Jalen Green from the Houston Rockets playing the LA Clippers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing point guards. Jalen Green has averaged 23.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. Now, he's projected at 24.5 fantasy points here tonight, but he's been playing pretty well the past 3 games. I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more. He's $5,400 DraftKings salary and $800 less on FanDuel. So I love that FanDuel price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 229 points scored in this game. And Jalen Green has scored 42, 28, and 24 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 30, and 35 minutes. So I like Jalen Green, especially on FanDuel here versus the LA Clippers. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Kelly Oubre Jr., also eligible at the small forward position. Kelly Oubre Jr. from the Charlotte Hornets playing the Detroit Pistons, who have the 6th worst defense overall. They give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Kelly Oubre Jr. has averaged 27.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 27.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $5,500 DraftKings salary, $400 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 227 points scored in this game. And Kelly Oubre Jr. has scored 37, 26, and 23 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 38, and 24 minutes. So I like Kelly Oubre Jr. here versus the Detroit Pistons. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. Here's a value play for you. Probably should have gave you this guy at shooting guard and Kelly Oubre Jr. at small forward, but they're both eligible at shooting guard and small forward. So I like Eric Gordon from the Houston Rockets playing the LA Clippers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing small forwards. Eric Gordon has averaged 23.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 24.2 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.8 times value. He's $4,200 DraftKings salary, $100 less on FanDuel. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 229 points scored in this game, and Eric Gordon has scored 20 and 28 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 29 and 38 minutes. So you give me Eric Gordon for 30 minutes at only around 4,000 DraftKings salary, and same on FanDuel. I think he's an excellent value play in this matchup in a fast-paced game. So I like Eric Gordon here versus the LA Clippers. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. Now, this guy's hit or miss. He can score 15 fantasy points or 40 fantasy points. He can make or break a lineup, but he's got a good matchup here. It is a back-to-back, but he should play around 30 minutes. So I like Jerami Grant from the Detroit Pistons playing the Charlotte Hornets, who have the second worst defense overall. They give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Jerami Grant has averaged 31.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 26% usage rate. He's projected at 30.5 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 6,000 DraftKings salary. He's 100 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 227 points scored in this game. And Jerami Grant has scored 15, 28, and 37 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 31, and 29 minutes. So I like Jerami Grant here versus the Charlotte Hornets. Now, right around the same salary, this is like, for me, you could play either one of these guys. You could also play Aaron Gordon from the Denver Nuggets playing the Portland Trailblazers, who have the 9th worst defense overall. They give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Now, Aaron Gordon is also on a back-to-back, but he's averaging 28 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 28.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.8 times value. He's 5,900 DraftKings salary, and same price on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 230.5 points scored in this game, and Aaron Gordon's been pretty consistent the past few games, scoring 35, 29, and 30 fantasy points, playing 32, 32, and 30 minutes. So I also like Aaron Gordon here versus the Portland Trailblazers. So I think I might prefer Aaron Gordon a little bit if you're looking for a little bit more consistency. And I prefer Jerami Grant if you're looking at probably some lower ownership with maybe some bigger upside. But the other power forward that I'm looking at here on this slate, who's not on a back-to-back, he hasn't played that well the past 3 games, but he certainly has some pretty good upside as well, is Andrew Wiggins from the Golden State Warriors playing the Dallas Mavericks, who have a good defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing power forwards. Andrew Wiggins has averaged 29.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 27.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.8 times value. He's 5,800 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 219 points scored in this game. And Andrew Wiggins has scored 22, 12, and 26 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 25, 15, and 36 minutes. So he's been struggling a little bit, but he certainly can put up 30 plus fantasy points. So I like Andrew Wiggins, who's played pretty well against the Mavericks. He scored 26, 31, 34, 31, and 27 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Mavericks. So I like Andrew Wiggins here versus the Dallas Mavericks. Real quick guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the position optimizer where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new player trends tool where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, moving on to the center position, take a look at Montrezl Harrell from the Charlotte Hornets playing the Detroit Pistons, who have the 6th worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing centers. Montrezl Harrell has averaged 28 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 25 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 31.1 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 6,100 DraftKings salary, 600 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 227 points scored in this game, and Montrezl Harrell has scored 38, and 29 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 23, 42, and 33 minutes. He's a point per minute monster, scoring 1.15 fantasy points per minute. So if he can get you around 30 minutes here tonight, he should be able to hit value, especially on DraftKings. I like that DraftKings price. So I like Montrezl Harrell here versus the Detroit Pistons. Now I also like Jonas Valanciunas, especially on FanDuel for only 7,400 FanDuel salary. He's averaging 39.3 fantasy points per game on the season, scored 42 and 48 fantasy points his last 2 games. He's playing the Lakers, and the Lakers won't have Anthony Davis in the lineup, so Jonas Valanciunas could be a beast in this game. So I like Jonas Valanciunas from the New Orleans Pelicans here versus the Lakers. Now, because there will be no Anthony Davis, let's take a look at a value play for the Lakers. He got some pretty decent minutes last game, put up a bunch of fantasy points. His price is still super cheap on DraftKings. Take a look at Dwight Howard from the LA Lakers playing the New Orleans Pelicans, who have the middle of the pack defense overall. They give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Dwight Howard scored 45 fantasy points last game, played 26 minutes. Now, he's projected at 18.2 fantasy points here tonight, and that's still 6.1 times value. Because he's only 3,000 DraftKings salary, he's 800 more on FanDuel. So I like Dwight Howard here versus the New Orleans Pelicans. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.